Yeah, yeah. And because it was Chip's project, I mean, if you look at the label, I'm on there, Kirk's on
No, but you know what I
there.
mean. You know what I mean.
Right.
Everybody says, "Oh,
You know what?
record."
Right. And that's me saying time to jack, just my voice tuned down on the record. So
Time to jack.
Right.
Time to jack.
So it's I've had conversations with Chip about and Chip says, Joe, you got so many records, now it's like he wanted the record, he's like, this needs to be my record, this is my defining record. So I'm like, and it's qualified, it's like, why not, because it was Chip's idea, the original concept, which was Chip's idea. So I left it with Chip, and then it's like even the new, I introduced Chip to Carl Cox. Carl was he said he got into house music because of Time to Jack.
Right.
So
a lot of people do that.
I kind of connected them together as a situation to redo the EP or Time to Jack, and so that happened. And they came to pass, and I think it's a lot of there's a lot of things that I try to facilitate. I want people to be successful. I want the culture to continue. That goes even to like back in '91 when I got together with Rocky and Julian and said, let's open up a new warehouse, because I wanted to give another generation an experience of like what we experienced back in the 80s. And so there was not really a club that was set up to deliver that. So, we put a killer sound system together, kind of looked around the city to find the best DJs, underground DJs who fit that mold. You had Armando Gallup, Mike Dunn, KLXC.
Yeah.
Gene Hunt. You had your, Julian was part of the warehouse, so was Julian Perez.
Jumping Julian, yep.
Jumping Perez. So you had a lot of the best DJs out of Chicago brought into the warehouse to kind of deliver that sound. So when you hear like today, house heads, they're not really talking about from the original warehouse. They're talking about from the warehouse that we opened up on Randolph and Halstead, because those are the younger. That's the younger generation who had been exposed to house music. I'm gonna jump back a little bit,
which will make them between 45 and 60. The age group.
Right. Well, yeah.
Young is 45 because they can't be younger than 45 to be able to experience that era.
Right. So, I'm gonna jump back a little bit. So, so now we're gonna go all the way back to Smart Bar. So Smart Bar, like I said, it was becoming super popular, and we were getting thousands of people through the club through the night. In '85, Peter Gation came to Chicago.
Oh, I worked for him too. I worked for Peter Gation. Yep.
From Limelight. So what ended up happening was, at the time, like I had been at Smart Bar for a few years, and I was, and like I said, I'm very into the next thing, and so Jesse De La Pena was DJing came in and started DJing every now and then at Smart Bar. But I like Jesse and his sound. And at that point, I was looking for something different to do, and I thought Jesse fit Smart Bar really well. So you got Jesse, you got people like Derek Carter, um, who kind of came in and after I decided to leave. So I met with Peter, with um, the various entities from Limelight, and I moved from Smart Bar to Limelight, and became the musical director and head of music for Limelight in Chicago. And so the whole thing there created the disco, Martin Circus, Walk the Night, a whole underground vibe in the club. It wasn't, Limelight, I think, was typically known for more like a rock environment, but I flipped it and made it underground, you know, and it worked really well in Chicago. So so there were like various.
Can I ask you something about the Limelight
Sure.
demographics? What was the demographic of that crowd when you took it over?
So I was there the first night it opened in Chicago. So it was a predominantly white crowd, but they were into the music, And I would mix it up the same thing, like when I was doing the Smart Bar, it may be some Simple Minds or some uh, Tears for Fear, or Talk, but I'm mixing it, like I said, with Martin Circus, Walk the Night, uh, um, you know, uh, your underground club vibe, this stuff, D Train, stuff like that, the house tracks, Can You Feel It, Move Your Body, it was just creating a certain energy in an environment. Um, so we can jump from that. So just music, there's just like a whole music history um, that I guess really hadn't been told, or hasn't really been told about, like my musical journey through the clubs in Chicago, um,
and I'm so glad you're telling it now.
So, um, and it's where, like, a lot of, so like, even uh, after I decided to leave Limelight, and uh, Jesse followed me from Smart Bar to Limelight, and you had your Mark Payson, um, Jeff Payson, the DJs, they all kind of made that transition from Smart Bar, Limelight. From Limelight, I went to another club called Charlie Club. It was like a 4-level nightclub in Chicago that was inside of a health club. And then uh, it lasted for a while. The thing was that the owner of Charlie Club wanted a nightclub for it was a health club. He wanted people for his health club to have a spot. But when I went in there and took it over, everybody was coming there. So this is like a 4-story nightclub that you got like 1,000 people in. You had to take elevators to get to the club. So there was no, it's like a health hazard that it was so crowded, it was so packed all the time. So yeah, so those are like different journeys. So from that, Riviera nightclub, I would do like the Riviera with Jeff Davis. There was just a lot of the major big clubs that I was like very like a main DJ, or one of the main DJs around Chicago.
Because you had the crowd following you wherever you went.
Yeah. So
you Joe Smooth.
So and it was crazy, because after I got into more on the production side, there, like a lot of people through Europe never knew I DJ, and they never knew the history of back from like Smart Bar and all that, and through those years, I would probably have been like the top DJ in Chicago that wasn't on the underground scene, and it kind of, I guess, gave a perspective, me musically, what I was playing, and on the production side of things, just trying to create, quality music um, across the board. Like I said, when I was, if I was doing something with like the Art of Noise. There was a group called Bros from the UK, New Order, um, to I guess more stuff in the 2000s where Whitney Houston, Destiny Child, doing mixes and stuff for these artists, and then trying to develop new artists. Um, I would always just try and keep a certain level of production and stuff in play.
Okay.
Let's shout out to Tyree and Phil and all the people who are tuning in.
They keep yelling at you. They're saying facts, facts. They're yelling facts. He's saying it. Mike Clark, everybody, Reginald Davenport, they're all saying he's saying it. He's laying it down perfectly, very eloquently as well. Brings us to the point that you're DJing and you got the crowd and you're making records. And of course, we're going to hear about this breakout record that's going to, change your life. We know that it's coming.
It is? There's a record like that? No. But so
there's always it changes your life. You know that. Right. There's one.
So what happened was, house music is becoming more popular around Europe. There's a guy, Colin Davies, Meredith Cork, and a couple other people who put together a house tour of Chicago artists to go around Europe. We went to maybe 25, 30 different cities, throughout the UK and Europe on a house tour. And we went actually performing. It wasn't a DJ thing. It was the artist performing songs. It was, Full House, Daryl Pandy, myself, Anthony Thomas and Don Connolly went along. There's a group called Out of Control with 2 female vocalists. And so we were touring around Paris, Brightledge, touring around Europe, performing. And we were performing in some places where, some people really didn't understand English very well, the language. There was a language barrier, but there wasn't a barrier between the music.
That's right.
It's like, we were performing in these places and it was really like we were rock stars, basically. We'll go house stars. We were house stars and, traveling around the world. And the way that the people were reacting to the music was very inspiring and motivational. And for me, it was like, that the music really transcends everything. And that's kind of where the birthplace of Promised Land came from. Kind of started spinning around in my head. Right.
While you were touring.
While I was touring. Because, you're seeing the appreciation that, music didn't really have, the boundaries of color or, race, the language wasn't a factor that was, holding people back from appreciating the music. So, when I got back to Chicago, I was like, wow, how do I say that, in a song? So so what I wanted to do was I wanted to create something that was classic, So for me, classic was Motown, So I kind of started listening to some Motown records and stuff like that, and kind of dissecting what made these records so classic,
Mm-hmm.
And so Promised Land, the music kind of came out of the I guess the spirit of Motown,
Oh, really?
Fused with the house, with the electronic drums and it's one of the only songs that you have from back then that had like any kind of chord changes, progressions, and any kind of structure where it wasn't just like a repetitive track, And then the idea was vocally and lyrically, it was kind of like how to create something that's kind of poetic, that kind of explains the feeling of that we're all brothers and sisters, and
Sure.
so it just it came to me and manifested, like I said, it's like I'll say a God inspired uh, piece of work, and I think I think that by the grace of God, that maybe I accomplished what I was set out to do, to make a classic record that told that story. And
Big time.
so I think I think it speaks to a lot of people. Um, and and then and then one thing with Promised Land. So after doing that, getting that project done, there was a lot of stuff going on with DJ International. Uh, Rocky wanted to go on vacation. So he was like, yo, you want to go to Mexico? So, Julian. So it was me, Julian, Rocky, Benji went to Cancun. And so while we were in Cancun, it was a crazy time because coincidentally at that time there was the Miss Universe pageant was going on. So, uh, there's lots. And at one point, we were videoing, had cameras and filming different things. And Benji was like, Joe, why don't we use this opportunity to try to shoot some footage for a Promised Land video? So Promised Land, if you look at the video,
I got a video of it.
It's shot partially in Chichen Itza.
Oh, really?
In the Mayan ruins.
What year would you say that this is all going on? People
so
asking.
This is like 87, 88. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to show, as you're talking, I'm not going to play the music, but I'm just going to show it so people can get an idea.
Right. So now you don't really see any videos done in these ruins because it's not really allowed to really film. So we were doing like guerrilla video.
Ghetto, we call it ghetto fabulous video.
Ghetto fabulous, right? So we had like little handy cams and stuff like that to.
And there's Joe's Sonic keyboard. Look at him, check him out.
Right. So these are the Mayan ruins with the pyramid and Chichen Itza, and
on that $1 million budget, Joe, right?
Right, exactly. Is
that Anthony?
That's Anthony.
It's Anthony. Okay.
Right.
Wow. So this is all going on. So you're going around the world, you're taking clips.
No, this is just from Cancun.
Okay.
So that was just from the vacation in Cancun, and really it's probably one of the only videos from that time on house music. I think the only other video was Jack Your Body for Steve Hurley. But this was actually like, a music video. So that was one thing, just trying to stay ahead of the curve. We walked around in some Fiorucci suit, like I said, we
looking fabulous, looking fabulous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brothers, sisters. Those words reverberate.
This was at Medusa, the nightclub in Chicago. So part of it was done.
And that's a house party when you see tambourines and stuff.
Right.
So what was the defining factor for you to come up with the chord progressions at that time? Like, what? It
was just something I was had in my head. It was really just, for me, it was about the feeling. Like even DJing is always about the feeling, transitioning from song to song creating a mood. So for me, the chords and the progression and the changes was really about a journey, um, a way to musically tell the story, you know.
Crazy.
Yeah. Right. It's funny, looking back at that, but like I say, it was just kind of like, okay, let's do this,
You're not allowed to go up on the stairs anymore. You're not allowed. They don't let you go up there anymore.
Right. Yeah.
They stopped all that because I know where you are. You're in Mexico, right?
Right. Yeah.
In the Mayan area. I know. I've been there.
Cisqo, right.
Yeah, Chichen Itza.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You can't shoot there.
No, you can't even go near. They put a gate around there. You can't even go up those stairs. How did you get up there? Wow.
Yeah.
That was great. Oh my God. So now looking back, with you took handy cams, you took videos, and you slapped this thing together. Rocky's probably shipping loads and loads and loads of singles on this record because I remember everybody wanted this record.
Mm-hmm.
It was a record that went from a very couple of guys to like, holy shit, everybody and their mother's playing this record now. And every set, no matter if you went to a pop party or does the record ever get picked up, that version overseas in the UK?
So there's labels like BCM, Brian Carter Music. Who picked it up? And it really wasn't. It was like Morgan Khan. Morgan was a big proponent to pushing house music in the UK at the time.
Street, what was this thing called? Street, Morgan Khan, Street something. Street Sounds. Morgan Khan, Street Sounds. Yep.
And so those are really, EMI picked it up in France, but it was never really like a major label release. What happened when Promised Land came out in the UK, Paul Weller in the Style Council did a cover version.
That's right. I remember that because that came back as an import to New York. I remember that clear.
So it was crazy because what they did was the same day Promised Land came out, they released their single maybe like 5 hours later. Because you can't do a cover if the song's not released yet.
Oh.
So that was Polygram, Polydor. So it kind of overshadowed the release of Promised Land in the UK. I didn't sweat it too much because I think, well, it's also exposing a whole different audience to the record at the same time. And I think
good attitude, because I would have been flustered, pissed. I'd have been like, F that, take that crap down. We want our versions to become the massive one, right? Come on. But good attitude.
And Promised Land, the original, still is the song that the DJs go to. Over the Style Council.
I never played that Style Council. Your version was the version.
It's right. So it still has transcended time. It's still, like I said, the song that that works. For the DJs. Like in present, like I have a JV deal with Armada at the moment. So Armada handles all mine. I have maybe like 250 songs that have been released that I don't know how many people are really aware of all the material. One thing that I run into a lot with labels is no matter how fantastic the song may be, so it's like, Joe, can I have a Promised Land? Can I have a Promised Land?
Yeah. Wait a minute. But Joe, can I give you what we were all thinking back then when this happened with the Style Council? A lot of us were saying this, and I may be wrong, but I'm going to talk out of character back at this. Let me return back to this time. Yo, man, that's a great black record. How dare they do that? That's what we were all thinking. We put that white crap out. Bingo, that's what we were all saying. Because the Style Council and Paul Weller was this white-sounding thing. We're like, yo, bring us the record that we all danced to, that we were all playing. That's a great black record. Why the hell didn't they push that shit? We were all saying it in Vinyl Mania or any of the record shops at that time. And we're like, I don't know. It was
They always do to black artists, right? No.
hey, it's like, yo, man, that's a clip already for us. As it was out, it was a classic. Sorry, Joe. I gotta be real. Real. It's real time. I gotta say it. No, it's real. It was a great, great record. Your record. Forget everybody else's covers. That shit, the shit. That's it.
Well, thank you, and that is true, and that is what happens, and it's it was really history repeating itself, and that's why I kind of had to sit back and say, let me look at it from a different perspective, because
well, let me show everybody my glass of water. So he's looking at it from the glass half full, not this part. I'm looking at the half empty part. Yo, where's all my coins went? As a writer, producer, this was that moment that you get the top of the pops, all that great luster that comes with England, opens the door, the red carpet. Joe's touching every major artist, Dina Carroll, Lisa Stansfield now. Everything's in your hands because of that. You know the game. The game is play. You can do no wrong when you come with a record like that.
Right. So, it's... It has still afforded me a lot of a lot, just being the record that it is, and people's artistic appreciation. Even I talk to Paul all the time, so still,
no, he's good at what he does. Don't get me wrong, he's talented, but you know what? At the time when this record is fresh, not what you want to see is something that comes out, overshadows something that you knew, and you can see everybody around you telling, yo, man, you got a gold record, you got to go, and it's like, poof.
You know what? It's always emphasis, and it's kind of like a blessing and a curse at the same time, because everybody wants Promised Land to be their record. You Promised Land is probably like one of the most covered house records of all time. There's rock versions. There's there's a version that's like a Bob Dylan version that's out there. There's just a lot of people.
You got rock version, you got opera version. Yeah, it's great. No, listen, it's nice after the fact. We're talking about in the middle of the
when it first came out. But you know what? So I think too, my attitude may have been that way too, because I'm not the on the stage in front of everybody person. I kind of prefer to be in the background. As opposed to, I've done stuff performing and, on stage and all that. But so I think I might have just had a different perspective, just, going into it all, from the top.
Yeah.
Things, but like I say, it's done its magic, and it's still
So take us, okay, so this record does its thing, and Joe Smooth now becomes the household name internationally. Mm-hmm. Where does it take you? Where do we go from here? Because house music's taking a whole different turn and things starting to take off.
Well, so, it's given me, like most of these, the labels. So all the labels, heads of labels, they know who I am. I can talk to your presidents of Sony and Universal, and it gives me a doorway of a variety of different things. Even to the point where, so you have, like let's take Patrick Moxey, for instance, from Ultra. So I'm at home one day, I get a phone call, and this guy calls me up and says, "Hey, Joe, this is Pat from Smart Bar." So he was like, I just wanted to call you, tell you, I appreciate you taking the time to teach me how to DJ. Um, when he was like 18, 19 years old, coming into Smart Bar. So I'm thinking of the kid Pat from Smart Bar. I'm not putting the two and two together that Pat is Patrick Moxie.
I'm not going. Is it the same Patrick Moxie?
Right. So
wow.
So he's like, yeah, Joe, this is Patrick Moxie. So
Pat who? You going Pat who?
right, Pat who, right. And so we've had reports since then. Just and you just don't know, the people whose lives you may have touched through, interaction and, what you give to people. And, and for me, I'm very, unconditional. Hey, if you need this, if you want help, I'm the kind of person who's like, okay, yeah, whatever you need, I'll put my part in, to make it happen.
Sure.
Like I said, I want people to succeed. I want, people to be able to put their best foot forward. So, those relationships develop from, with these companies, Craig Coleman,
Big B.
like these guys, right? They were DJs back then, and you build those, that rapport, those relationships. So like I say, it's giving me a voice in dealing with certain situations with people with these labels, and maybe introducing other people to the companies. And it's and then on the you got a thing on the quality side, production work. It kind of put me in a whole nother environment. I've done stuff like records for with Kanye, Malik Youssef, Common. There was a record I did a while ago with an artist called named Avant, and Kiki Wyatt. R&B record. If you look on YouTube, it has like maybe 80 million hits. So I mean, there's different. It's put me in different arenas, different areas, and it's. I think me not having that attitude, like I'm pissed, I'm this or that, about different situations, and just kind of learning how to make it roll, to the next situation. Has given me a different position than maybe a lot of other people have in in the house music community.
Yeah, because there's a lot of disgruntled brothers and sisters in our game.
Yeah.
Get so upset and so angry they can't see past it, and it just eats it away at them. You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is bigger than us. The music is bigger than us, and that you kind of really have to wrap your head around it. I like I said, I deal with like the heads of A&R for Armada. Michael is, Michael is, there are people that are accessible because of just the musical history.
Right. Mm-hmm. So nobody knows in the beginning of the 90s with this record that you're actually a DJ. They think you just some keyboard singing. Wait, Joe the piano player from Chicago.
Right. Oh no, it took a while through Europe, and that's it, and then maybe why. Like I come out and I DJ and I play at different places. Like I just got back from Mallorca, doing BCM international. But there's spots, and then when I get there and they hear me play, it's like, wow, there's a lot of people that are like, well, you're my new favorite DJ, and it's I play the way I play, and it's and I think I play a little bit different than most of the other Chicago DJs.
In what respect? What would you say that makes you different?
Just because of my taste in music. I think I have a more eclectic taste, and I'm not afraid to take a chance with different styles of music. because I'm about if it's a good record. You know, it doesn't need to be my whole set doesn't need to be soulful house. It doesn't need to be, you know, Afro house. It doesn't need to be any one thing in particular. If I'm hearing something that I think I can segue into that's, you know, from a totally different side, I'll push the envelope. Um, I just like I believe in a good dance record. I believe in the dancer, you know, and the
Sure.
dancer's appreciation of the music. You know, I'm I'm not really into, you know, it's got to be a certain thing.
Gotcha. So off camera, when Joe and I were talking, we were reminiscing, and I asked him what happened around the time when he stepped away from the warehouse that he set up with Rocky and them. So he'll take you from there and bring us into today. So
So, um, so at one point with the warehouse, I kind of really kind of got tired of the whole club scene, and people drinking and just the whole party environment. I needed to get away from it, so I took a vacation to Italy, somewhere different, Rome. I took a 2-week vacation, and while I was there, I had met up with a producer, Claudio Donato, and Claudio had expressed to me that, you know, he really appreciated the music that I had done over the years, and that it made him interested in maybe getting back involved in the music business. So, you know, Claudio has a massive collection catalog of music. You know, he's probably got 20,000, 30,000 records, you know, on his catalog. And so he said, you know, instead of you staying 2 weeks, why don't you stay for a month and see how I do business? And then if, you know, after the month, let's sit down and talk, and maybe we can come to some kind of agreement and work on some kind of a label or something. So I stayed for the month. You know, I kind of watched how he did business. He has a chain of record stores, Goody Music Studios. He has a club now over there. So at the end of the month, I was like, okay, you know, this is something that I could get into. So I ended up staying for like 6 years, you know, working on putting together a label with him.
2 months, everybody. He gave it 2 months. Remember this? We heard he said, I went on vacation for 2 weeks. And then he hooks up with the people who did Kano, the group, and those records like First True Love Affair, Jimmy Ross, all that stuff. So you know who that is, Claudio and them, okay? Because I know they're nice guys. And they say to him, no, Joe, stay in Roma. We'll set you up. You work. Don't worry. Everything be good. And that's what happened. 6 years later, 1997, Joe's coming still out. We're like, where have you been, Joe? Living in Rome. I don't know. I said, Joe, you in Rome?
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe's hiding in Rome, living the life.
Living right. You know, it was a nice life, relax. Io parlo italiano, un poco adesso.
Oh, poco, parlato italiano, mamma mia. Look at it, it speaks Italian. Nice, good.
And so I ended up coming back to the States after, you know, staying there for, like I said, 5-6 years. With, you know,
was it a good decision for you to do that, you think, in hindsight?
To come back to the States?
No. To do the whole Roman, to do the entire.
Yeah. I think so. I think it was good. I think I should have stayed in Rome and then maybe done a little bit more. And I think what happens is, well, I guess it's two-sided, because what happens when I'm in Rome, I'm doing more production, a little DJing here and there. But I think what that did was it disconnected the DJ side of things with people from my story, you know. So that's
right.
So like I said, a lot of people really didn't realize that I actually was a DJ, you know, and what kind of a DJ that like I said, was one of the top DJs in Chicago back in the 80s, going into the 90s, and so a lot of the your DJs like your Mike Dunn and Glenn Underground, Paul Johnson. That's where Paul got his rest in peace. Where he got his visibility too was actually at the warehouse, Randolph. My thing was really giving exposure to the great DJs in Chicago, and it's still something that I look at today. Like we're looking to do something in Chicago again, not just a club, but a house museum, a cultural center,
so needs to be
place that you can
so needs to be done.
Right. Learn how to, DJ and learn how to produce music, learn how to engineer, a creative space. So, that's what's in the works for the near future. Also, working on something with Gary from the Hawks and Whores.
Gary Hoxton, doesn't it? Yeah, Gary Hoxton Whores. My God, crazy.
Yeah, for next year, trying to put together a pilgrimage to Chicago of people from UK, people from Amsterdam, Italy, to come to Chicago so they can see the birthplace of house music. And tour around a little bit, some of the clubs, do some events, to make it, it's kind of like a trip to Mecca, because I think it's on a lot of people's bucket list to come to Chicago who are into house music. So we're trying to structure something that's going to be appealing to your house audience.
That's what's up, and that's awesome. I mean, again, I'm going to ask a question. It takes a lot of funding to get a museum and everything together, right?
That's what you're here for, Lenny. We're looking out to you.
I'm good at that. I'm good at bringing people together. We got to get major investors to come play. Listen, everybody, go deep in your pockets and start giving in, because we got a museum for this. It's so necessary.
So there are people who are interested in being part of that, there people are interested in helping to keep the house history alive. So
legacy.
Yeah, the whole legacy. So so it's happening. It's coming together.
And, again, everybody always asks you, Joe, bring me a promised land. All right, we know you can't do this anymore. How many promised lands can you do?
Right.
What do you do to keep it fresh, for you to keep Joe Smooth out there?
Well, you know what? I'm always trying something new. I'm always trying to be cutting edge on one side, and then the other side. Like I have a project coming out called the Jack Zone, which is kind of actually reaching back to the foundation of house music, because what I've seen is like the kids today are really into the 808s, 909s. They're really stripped down. How do you make it contemporary, so that it's accessible to their parties? And my one of my things has always been like, so when we were kids coming up, it was always trying to find something fresh and new. What happens a lot today is a lot of the DJs are still playing the same stuff that was fresh and new back then.
Tell me about it.
Instead of moving on to the future or trying to create something new or trying to incorporate, what's happening. And I think it hurts a lot of the DJs. So when you have your more like soulful DJs and they don't embrace like a David Penn, or David is kind of, to me, on the wire, between like soulful house and funky kind of tech house. When somebody like that does like like when Diplo did Love to the World, his version.
Right.
Now it's accessible enough, but a lot of the DJs that you see playing more soulful house, never played that record, but it's a hot record. And
Right.
And there's a lot of music that's out there that's accessible, that is that I think like the younger crowd can appreciate, as opposed to consistently playing for the older crowd. And the thing is, okay, how do you bring the younger crowd into the fold musically? You have to embrace what they're listening to, because that's where you came from.
Sure.
You came from the younger crowd originally, so you need to route the, and so that's something that I think is important, because the reality is it's a whole bunch of people's grandparents at the party.
With their canes and their walkers.
And people are only getting older, so you need to understand that there's strength in the music, but you need to move that strength to that foundation to the youth. The youth, you need to get the youth to appreciate the music, and not to a point where it's I've seen some young DJs and they're playing the same music to attract the older crowd, as opposed to learning how to play to their peers, or take that music and deliver it to their peers so they appreciate the music. I've seen the mixture of, like, with the younger crowd and the older crowd. And what happens is, a lot of the time, the younger crowd, they don't really want to party with their parents,
No.
So you have to create an environment that they're comfortable in, and to help keep the legacy alive,
Yep.
So that's what I see. So so that's what I try to work with younger artists, like even like the new songs and stuff that I work on. I'm working with kids, they're 18 to 26, as vocalists and stuff like that for new projects. I don't really work with a lot of the older, more established artists. I'm trying to break new artists,
You still have that same rule of thumb. Break the new, push the envelope, make the new record. Let's push the new sound. Let's keep forging forward. Let's not live off our loins and lay down. Right. Yeah. Let's keep pushing the envelope. Where can we take this? And what's funny is, old is new. Yeah. What you did back then is fresh now. And the UK, God bless, because I've been playing my last tour, they are appreciative to our house music culture and disco culture.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot easier to play new records that fit in with the older stuff. Yeah. Whereas over here, something is lost in the translation in America. Like music.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to good music? The crowd that we have to play for is the AARP crowd. It's terrible. But these are our people. What used to come out when we were doing this round 1. We're at round 12 now. It's like, it's crazy. Exactly. And these people, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, them? It's like, whoa, this is a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't see the young kids coming through. They're going more towards the techno and the EDM side.
Yeah.
The Electric Daisies. They go follow David Guetta. They follow that sound because it's like a sheep mentality. Their friends are following it, so they all follow it. Instead of being, no, I'm going to step to the left because that is crap and this is really good music.
Yeah. And, you can, so even if you go back to, the pace has changed, the pace of music has changed. When you go back to your, like what we were playing back in the 80s and 90s, the tempos have changed, the groove, the rhythm of the groove has changed, and so it's kind of like a lot of the music that people are stuck on. It's almost loungy sounding now, as opposed to what a young person really wants to dance to. You know,
Right.
when I go to these events, unfortunately, sometimes I'm the only black DJ, you know, and the audience too, maybe 95% uh, white, as opposed to a balanced mixture of
Don't you want me, baby?
and
Don't you tell me all the time. That was what we were playing that time.
that's what we were right, and that's what we were
Don't
playing.
you want
So
me? And I would play Problems Dear More right after it. Or you
right,
play Block Minaj. Yeah, I remember one after they can
right,
hear the records. And that's what these people want to hear when they come.
right,
I know,
and
and then you're like, now I got to play Jack and house music.
right. And so it's somewhere there was like the translation was lost, and people got so segmented into you can only play this, and that's
Well, I think, brother Joe, I think that's when hip hop really became commercial. That's when everything really got segregated.
yeah,
Right around that time when Puffy started releasing those records, it was like
right, yeah,
the last big record we all remember, and that, maybe I'm wrong, but Gypsy Woman was that time. Robin S. Well, those were the last two American
right,
house records. After that, it was kind of like done. The majors were finished with it. Thank
yeah,
God for Europe and UK, because we would have had
right,
no careers. They would have all died. It would have all
yeah,
just died right there. It would have been like pause, and that's the end of it.
and that's something important too. House music became part of the culture in Europe, as opposed to here. The problem here is in the States is so you can go back to the whole disco thing, and the disco demolition, and um, what people fail to realize is dance music. Dance music is part of everybody's life story. Um, really only focused on dance music to generate additional revenue when the rock wasn't really happening.
Funny, right?
People don't understand that Madonna's a dance music artist. Prince was a dance music artist. Michael Jackson was a dance music artist. That all these artists were dance music artists, and they were pushing a commercial um, circle. Even Whitney Houston, Chaka Khan. These were really dance music artists, and it's just it wasn't really embraced the same way America wants to be rock and roll. And so never, even the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, all those disco records, Saturday Night Fever album was one of the biggest selling records ever.
Of all time. Of
all
all
time.
time.
And it was a dance music album.
Outshadowed only by Michael Jackson with the Thriller.
With Thriller, which was a dance music album.
Thank you. Let's go on. Let's keep going.
So the thing is, the perspective is wrong, and I think if
No, because they go right away like this. Who wants that gay shit? Who wants that?
the people that bought it.
Yeah. Yo, R&B department. If you brought the R&B department a dance record, they would say to you at the majors, and you know this because I've heard the same thing. We're not working this record. We're not working this record. How could you not work this record?
Exactly.
Yo, this shit's a bomb. It's a hit. We ain't working this record.
And they wouldn't. And that's the problem. But it may sell a few million copies, and they'll make the money from it, but they just won't.
Yo, they got lucky with that. You heard that too. They got lucky with that. What?
Exactly.
Yo, how much do we have to defy gravity to make you understand that this is really good music? Which part of gravity we got to give you?
And so, you know, it's and maybe at some point, because what else is there right now? Right now, there's EDM. You know, EDM is, you know, is what
it's beautiful music. Yo, that's good music, man.
Now, now the thing with EDM, the reality of EDM is the commercialization of house music.
Right.
But it's a commercialization as so like back at the warehouse, what we were big at doing is taking acapellas, drum tracks, building the song up, playing the best part of the record. So building that record up, dropping the music out, letting the acapella play, creating a mood of building and dropping points from the record, which is exactly what an EDM record is. You know, they just took it and commercialized it. And even to the point where, like, when you think about one of the Avicii levels, you know, and he took one of the vocals that they used to play at the house clubs as an acapella and created an EDM song around it. You know, that was probably one of the biggest selling records again.
Right. It's a bastardized version of when when you whiteify.
Of you DJing, right? Of you DJing through the night at a house party.
That's right. You would do that in your night set. You would do that, drop an acapella, make the crowd scream, bring the drums in, bring the drums out, play the bass. You would do all that. That would be your routine if you're that type of DJ.
They just arranged the record like that.
Ain't and funny, Joe. Joe, it's sad. Joe, it's sad. I want to cry when you say you're making me laugh. I'm like, hey, cry. I'm like crying every time. Yo, let me give everybody a good indication. 2005, 2006, EDM blows up. And house DJs like myself have to go sit down because we ain't hot no more like that. This younger, blonde-headed, blue-eyed guy is now your man.
Calvin Klein model.
That's right. Calvin Klein. You don't want the Doughboy. You want the Calvin Klein guy. Because Pillsbury dough tastes damn good, but you know it tastes good. You had it. You enjoyed it, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You ate it, regurgitated, loved it, worked with it, and now all of a sudden, you want Calvin Klein.
Right. And
who ain't making music, he's ghosted.
And what a lot of people don't realize, like, you know, we get back to the soundtrack of people's lives. You go to a clothing store, they're playing music in the background, house music.
That's right. Bingo. You got that right.
Everywhere you go, that's the soundtrack playing in the background. But it still doesn't get the credit.
That ain't music.
Which is crazy.
Joe, you call that music, Joe? That ain't music.
Right.
And you're like, wow. You just see, you don't know what to say. I'm always overwhelmed by that moment. But hearing that, I go, wow, that ain't music. But yet, I hear a hip hop record. Yo, that's just hot. Everybody's like,
right.
Yo, that's our house music. Ready? Slow the pitch down. Because I'm listening, I'm going, that's house music. Am I wrong?
Right, yeah. No.
I give up, Joe. I give up. Joe, where do I sign? I give up.
Right.
You know, everybody who's watching this, you know what we're talking about. You've all said it to yourselves too when you hear the music. You must say to yourself, man, this is a sad day. When you hear certain of these records, you go, man, it ain't about the music no more. It's about the social media part. That's what I was going to ask you now in this part. Now that the social media and the music has become the catalyst, or we should say our business card, how do you deal with that now in this climate? Where's your mindset for this now?
So, social media, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. Not like your TikToks and all that Twitter, but actually the next level of it, with your metaverses and your NFTs, in that situation. Because like right now, I'm working on a something with Warner Brothers. So this is the 50th anniversary for the Superfly soundtrack, and
Curtis Mayfield Superfly?
yeah.
Superfly.
And right. So I'm trying to work on something with I talked to Marshall a little bit about it. Harris Brightlich a little bit about it, about recreating the music. So we may end up doing it with the Chicago Philharmonic Jazz Orchestra.
Okay.
And, to redo the music in a house style, have it redone, and also do a metaverse concert with it, with Warner Brothers. Warner kind of brought up the situation, so it's just so for me, it's always trying to be ahead of the curve. And
can I break in first on that?
Yeah.
So let me understand it, because I had Linda Clifford on I see Linda Clifford talking right now.
Okay.
Her Tom Records is Chicago, correct?
Chicago, exactly.
Okay. Superfly is Chicago.
Yes.
And the sound is Curtis Mayfield.
Right.
So Warner's came to you and said, we want you to take the dust off of it and bring this up to today's sound, basically, right?
Right.
Interesting. What is their angle for that? Are they trying to re-release?
A celebration for the 50th.
Got it. Okay. It's a celebration.
Yeah. NFTs.
Because I'm wondering, like I said, Chicago, it's Curtis Mayfield. It's all that and everything there.
Right.
And historic in its own right.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot going on. There's I try to keep my hands in a little bit of everything, in a way to and like I said, I'm incorporated with house, and it's really about trying to bridge the gap. I've done remixes on stuff for like Chaka Khan. I've done records with Casey from Go to See. There's I got records with George Clinton, house tunes where the thing is to be able to maybe get it to radio, get the exposure with some of these artists that people know and are comfortable with, and they kind of open the doorway for, like I said, a younger new artist to kind of come through with being able to play commercially accessible house records.
The question everybody asks is this, because radio is, we'll say it in a terrestrial sense, because we all remember how how importance of radio. But is it more important to get the Spotify lists? Those detailed.
That has to happen also. Yeah, that has to happen also.
More so than the radio.
Yeah. So Spotify is, it's really understanding the logarithm that points to your music. And there are some people that I've worked with who do that. That's one thing they do. They develop software that figures out what Spotify's looking for. You know, it's all technology. Like I said, it's all about keeping up with the pace of what's happening around you.
That's partial to the problem, is understanding what our game field is. This field is more about Spotify than it is radio.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you don't get those algorithms to start firing and that record doesn't get, because if the record gets onto those big playlists, and not many of independents do, it's very rare. It's more of a major label when you look. But if you're so lucky to get your record signed these days with some sort of distribution with a major, and it gets on those particular lists, you're talking millions and millions of streams, which then turns to trickle effect into real money. But it's not like it used to be where you could put a record out on vinyl and make a living. It's just a different world now.
Right. No. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it takes, what is it, like a million streams to get maybe $4,000 to $6,000 to translate, if you're lucky, if it's not split up, among a whole bunch of other people at the same time. So, then it's like I said, wrapping your head around, like, what was the girl who was the Cash Out girl?
Oh, yeah.
She generated like $50 million on whatever that platform was she was on from people. Yeah. So,
what he had, but those stories are 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Not everybody's able to do that. It's like somebody gets lucky and they get that one time.
Right.
Now, if we try to do it, we'll get 5 people to come on. That's it. It's like,
right.
It's like
you don't know what it is. Like I was talking, there's a young guy who's out. He DJs, producer, J Electro. You know, he's posted up a little bit on Facebook that he was posting some stuff and somehow or another got 50 million streams. You know.
Yeah, right. We're laughing about that dude. And then we're trying to figure out, well, how the hell do we do that? How do you implement that into your music?
Right. Absolutely. So that's what it is, figuring that out and wrapping your head around it. And for me, it's really about back to embracing the generation, the younger generation, because they have their heads wrapped around it. You know, so it's like sitting with them, talking with them, and getting some of them on your team, because that's what they're into. You know, that's their life right now. That's their life. So, you have to, like I said, you have to remember that's where you came from.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Joe, absolutely. You're amazing. Joe, we know what Joe's secret is. Wrap yourselves around some 18-year-old kids and have them real close. Bring them in real tight. Make a team. Make the Joe team. The Joe Smooth team. Like a ball team. All right, all of you going to go in a room. You're going to work with some laptops. You're going to figure this thing out and give me some answers. And that's what Atlantic does. And the rest of the record labels do it. They got a bunch of kids in a room. And they're looking at all the records and seeing algorithms, and we'll sign that record. And that's how they were signing records. They weren't signing them. They weren't even hearing them. They were just signing them because the record was spiking. Ain't that something?
Right. Absolutely.
And don't listen to the record, Joe. Don't listen to the record. Don't listen to the record. We don't care how it sounds. Just bring it in.
And that's why, like, even a lot of us don't know a lot of the new artists. There's so many artists that, like, a lot of people have never heard of that are getting 1 billion views, 1 billion streams on YouTube. The kids know them, but our generation really isn't really exposed because you're not out there looking the same way. You're not building Spotify playlists. You're not building, you're still stuck doing the things the traditional way as opposed to what's actually happening around you. You know,
Right. You're 100% right. And that's why we have to say, we just keep doing our music and just keep pushing and do what we can. And one of us will crack through. We always do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't stop, Joe.
Oh no, absolutely not. You know, I like I said, I've been doing a lot of you know, networking with like I said, I have a JV deal with Armada, so I kind of pay attention to the artists that they're working with. You know, Armada is I guess the largest independent record label, right? You know, globally.
Right.
And you know, when I kind of paid attention to them when I saw that, you know, Eric Murillo's label was signed under them, you know, Hector Romero, Kevin Saunderson's label is signed under them. There's a lot of our guys
They're working with Armada.
under Armada as you know have sub label deals, and then just you know hearing like you know they send me music all the time about you know like the new stuff that's coming through, and there's a lot of actually really good artists that are coming through. And Armin is just lucky, you know, he is his label. So I know a lot of the stuff that comes through, if it's a hit, he's like, this is my record, you know?
Yeah, right. It takes us on his wing. Exactly.
Right. You know, like that blah, blah, blah record he has, you know, it's a real simple record. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but there's a record called Blah, Blah, Blah. Right. And that's something that is, for me, it's like a cartoon. That's something too, is when you listen to artists, one thing is that it's about a tone, the texture, a style. If you think even back to like Michael Jackson, Michael's voice was not a normal voice. You know, it was very animated. Prince, his voice is with a very animated voice. So I think that it kind of lends itself to you know the child inside of us and what we're drawn to. And is drawn to something, a character, you know, when you have artists, Mary J. Blige, you know, her voice has a certain tone. It's not the greatest voice in the world, but it's got a character to it. So, you know, that's something about, like, it's not about the greatest singer. It's about something that, and like I said, I think it goes back to our childhood and cartoons, you know.
Yeah.
It's so it's about finding something that that touches you at the core, as opposed to you know it's subliminal, subconscious. You know, it's not like I say. You've got some incredible singers, but they never make it.
No, I know, Joe. And because you know what, there's a pyramid scheme. There's only X amount at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
The rest is sliding down.
Yeah. And it's a million great singers.
Oh my God. There's Jesus. Every time you turn around, it's like, how come you don't have a record deal? You know why.
Right.
Because the big three pushes the button on only X amount, and that's it. Inclusive of the promotion that goes behind it, the machine. It's just a game. It's they pick who they want to make that game go all the way, you know?
Something which just caught my attention. So I have so back in the Limelight days, you know, I go to New York or you know in Chicago. Andy Warhol and Basquiat used to like dancing to the music. And this right here is something that Basquiat gave to me.
Oh wow! I was wondering if that was his painting.
Yeah. So that's something he gave me, and then Andy Warhol actually gave me a watercolor of Basquiat. It was like he painted a picture of him like when he was a teenager. And
I wonder
So
what
that goes
worth,
back to the.
I wonder what that's worth on his wall, everyone.
What?
It's gotta be worth some.
We won't talk about that. No, like that.
Joe lives at 1800 Washington Avenue, Washington, D.C.
So, I mean, it's just history. Keith Haring's, all that stuff like that. Those guys.
They were fixtures in the New York club.
Their appreciation, right, of the music and stuff like that. They appreciated the way we appreciate their art. They appreciate our art.
It's incredible that you have that, because I was looking at that for a while going, I wonder if that is his painting. I was afraid I should have asked. For whatever reason, we were engulfed in the promised land thing. And I forgot about that. Joe, we can't thank you enough. You are a true legend of the game. And you don't seem to be stopping, which is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing.
We're fortunate to still be in this game. We've been in it for a long time.
You telling me, Joe?
Yeah.
We didn't earn these gray hairs for nothing. Damn. I was talking to David Morales the other day, and he was on vacation, and he said to me, it was Netflix and a book, no music. And I said, how's that? He says, it wasn't easy. I said, let me guess why. And I said, because music to us is like crack. It's in our, we fiend for it. If we don't hear it, you're looking for something. You as a DJ, as a record producer, as a musician, you're fiending for that. Hear something, even if it's anything. You want to hear something just to give you maybe a push or that lift or an idea, And I'll tell you, Joe, don't stop doing what you do, because you still inspire many of a generation.
Well, it's appreciated. I'm not. I like I said, it's important for me to, I mentor people. If people need help with something, feel free to reach out. It's not, I'm accessible. So
on the Twitch side, some of the people like Mark Tiny and Anastasia Beaverhouse are thanking you and talking about the Chicago legacy. They said they learned so much. Timothy Callahan, he was in it. San Francisco, I forget his name. San Francisco, oh God, they're gonna kill me. I'm sorry, guys. San Francisco Butch Boy says, I was at those clubs that you were talking about in Chicago. I remember he was writing. So they were there. Joe, a lot of people were there when you were doing what you were doing and in its heyday.
Oh, right. And it was a good time, and one other thing. So, I talk to like young kids, 12, 15, and they say, wow, they know the music. And they're like, we wish we lived in the 80s because it seemed like it was so much fun.
Joe, when I was in the 80s I was like, damn, I wish I was in the 70s. The disco thing blew up. And I was, but I was too young to be at the clubs. But I was like, damn, even until now, I still say, I missed that. I missed my calling. But you know what? I wouldn't have been able to make all the records I made. I wouldn't have done what I did.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's crazy.
It's all part of our history. Our legacy is the music we were exposed to, back then. And all that plays a part in house music, just the different styles of music, the eclectic nature of things, is where we all come from,
And where we're going.
Exactly.
Because you got to know where you came from to know where you're going, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Joe, go ahead.
More DJs need to pay attention to all the music that's out there.
What, Joe? What? Everybody's playing their own stuff right now because they're promoting their stuff. That's all it is right now. Everybody, we had this conversation, other DJs. Everybody's playing their own stuff because they're into promotion and product placement.
Right. It's a lot of great music. Great music.
I know. No. Because when you hear a DJ play who's a record producer, you hear only his stuff. And then you go to somebody else, you only hear there's very few guys that are playing the part as DJ and playing everybody's music, because it's just in other words, for the selection and entertainment value of training your audience to the new material, as we were taught. That's how I was taught. Strive to find that record that nobody else has. Push the envelope. No. Now it's like paint color set, paint by numbers. People are gonna write me hate. Lenny, how dare you? Listen to me carefully. I'll say it one more time. It's like paint by numbers, colors, sync button, color pen. So you have 8 colors, and number 1 is red, and number 2 is black, and it's sad. It's really sad, but that's the generation now. Let's play it real safe. I'm going to do it my way, and you're going to hear my music, and because it's my night. And here's the other thing, Joe. Everybody wants to go see Idris Elba in the UK, the actor. Right. And what do I see? Everybody in the crowd like this.
Right. Yeah.
The whole crowd. They're dancing. I swear to God, I was like, that is so. I just back in the day, you would have been laughed at if you would have been doing that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, boy, take that shit. Get that. Put your hand down. You know, they would say, "Put that. What are you doing?" Now the whole 1,000 people have their hands in the air with 2 phones.
Right. Yeah.
Making sure everybody at home that they're with Idris Elba at the gig. Come on, man.
Absolutely.
I'm old now, everybody.
He is actually a good DJ, but you know.
No, Idris Elba. No. Idris Elba can DJ. There's no question. That's not what I'm saying. They're not dancing.
I know, but they're not there. They're not right. They're not participating in the party.
They're filming it so you can go home later and look at it again in awe. Yo, I was Idris Elba. Look at me on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and please. Yeah. Everyone, give your standing ovation to Chicago's finest, Joe Smooth, an architect, an incredible person, a life changer, fantastic DJ, an innovator. He's not stopping. So next week, before we say thanks to Uncle Joe, we got another architect coming on from the disco scene, Joe Causey, Disco 92, WKTU New York. Getting Joe Causey to tell you all about what happened when disco exploded in New York. Joe Causey. Don't miss it. Same place, same time, except we'll be making a complete move shortly to Twitch. We'll no longer be part of the Facebook family. Sorry, everyone. I already shut down the Instagram 2 live. If you notice, there's been no Instagram live 2. People probably wondering, where the hell am I? Well, I'm on Twitch now. That's where we're going. And you can catch the podcast, of course, the following day and the YouTubes. And Friday, we're doing it. The True House Stories takes over. 2 o'clock. We moved it from 12 to 2 p.m. on Twitch. So I'll be on Friday, 2 to 5. Hope to see you all there. Uncle Joe Smooth, I give you a bow. And Tyree and all of them are saying, God bless you for telling the truth in the factual story. It needed to be said. Everyone out there, have a good night. Joe, don't leave us. Thank you again. Catch you all Friday and next week.